Well, that's a oldie but a goodie, written by my friend Steve Noble's song titled "Bark at the Moon." Yeah, we used to play that one as a crowd favorite, original tune back in the Rough House days. Yeah, so I thought I'd spit that one out. I haven't played it in years. I had to figure it out a little bit and forgot most of the parts, but that was a shortened version. And this guitar sounds pretty bright, huh? I mean, it's pretty tinny sounding. Telly with a maple neck. Um, Quite the characteristic for that type of tone. Real bright and thin. But it's okay. I'll get used to it. It'll have a use for. I'll have a use for it for certain things. Extra twang thang, you know. Got the compensated saddles, which work out nice, intonated nice. I got 3 guitars with these saddles on there, and very happy with them. I just ordered a set for my boy for his telly. His Christmas present. I got him one, so he wanted one, a Telecaster. After I gave him one of my favorite Stratocasters, he's always wanted. It's a Daphne blue with the yellow, the lacquer kind of yellow, so it has that seafoam green kind of color, but you could kind of see the original where the arm wore off, you know. He's been eyeballing that guitar for a while, so I gave it to him. I don't play it too much anymore, and he gets more use out of it than I do. I wish I had cool guitars like that when I was his age. I'm hoping to keep them going, you know what I mean? Influence. Sometimes a new guitar will do that. Getting used to this. This was supposed to be a candy apple red guitar, but that body didn't work out. You know, bridge placement, pickup cavity, pick guard. These 3 elements, they need to be in a specific, exact location. And when you're put the pick guard on, which is usually the first thing I do, square it up to the neck. It can only sit one way. You know, it's up against the neck all the way. And this is going to sit where it needs to sit because of the holes, right? For the string ferrules and where the strings come out. And the mounting holes, which are 4 of them for the bridge. It sits where it needs to be. But this control plate wouldn't fit in the cavity, in the spot regulated for it on the red body. And I was like, what the hell? So, folks, if you're going to build a guitar, be sure you're using real parts, like Fender parts. So I had to like junk that red body because it wasn't a Fender piece. Oh, it was a nice body, 2-piece ash, right? Decent weight to it. It's a little heavier than this though. But it didn't work out. It didn't work, you know, and what can I say? I got rid of it. I had to. I mean, I still have it. It's just a paperweight. It's all boogered up because I tried to make it work, and it's just like, it ain't good for nothing now. So I had to get another body, and I decided to get this Olympic white, I think it's called, which is like a pure white. And parchment guard. I have a couple other guards I could put on this. I have a black guard, which I didn't think would look good. I think a black guard on a telly only looks good on maybe a burst. Definitely a butterscotch, right? A single ply, like a real old school black guard. But then I don't want to be copying, you know, such an iconic guitar, right? Like a 52, 53, you know, early 50s telly with a black guard. They're known as black guards, and I wouldn't want to imitate something as cool as one of those, right? So, you know, this one here is just your little stock maple neck Fender, you know. Acrylic finish, no big deal. These guitars are made to throw in the car and take to a gig, and you know you don't have to keep your eye on them too much. You know, if they get lifted, it's not the end of the world. You know, I mean, this guitar for, you know, under $1,000. So. But it sounds good. I dig it. looks good. It probably looks better in person than it does on this video screen, but the pick guard is slightly off color, so gives it a cool look. I got a imitation aged one that's a little darker that I might throw on here. I don't know, just to give it some contrast. I'll see how it feels, but yeah. These Alnico 5 pickups, I love these Mexican-made Alnico 5 tele pickups. Really, these things really bark, you know. Yeah. Just playing through my what is it? Blues Junior, Fender Blues Junior with the Vintage 30 and what's called a Frommel mod. Kind of gives it that classic tweed sound. Kind of mellowed the amp out without all this flubby bottom. I got the bass turned all the way up, so you know that usually these amps you can't do that because they just flub out. But this Frommel mod, yeah, I like them. You know, instead of spending like, you know, hundreds of dollars on, you know, special pickups. Just get some decently made pickups, Alnico 5 with some good magnets, you know. Pickups that are made like pickups, real pickups, you know. I think I got both pickups, the control cavity, the control plate with the electronics, a 5-way switch, for like 99 bucks, you know. Both pickups, you know, and the pick guard. The control plate with all the electronics for 100 bucks. One C note. Brand new. Made by Fender, okay? 250 K ohm pots, CTS pots. You know, it comes with a little ceramic tone cap, you know. I could put an orange drop in there. I don't know if it'd make that big of a difference. I could probably get a chiclet cap. I've been thinking about toying with the idea of putting a treble bleed, buying that. Also, I kind of been toying with the idea of getting these, reversing this plate so the switch is on the backside and your volume knob and tone knob are up front and your 3-way switch is back here. They make one that's a 4-way switch that puts these two pickups in believe it's in series to give you that humbucking sound. And yeah, and then you still get your, you know, your forward back position would be your bridge, and then you have the next position, which would be your second position, would be your neck and bridge and neck pickup, and then the third position I believe, would be your humbucking position, using both of these in a humbucking mode, and then all the way forward would just be your neck. That sounds like a really good setup. That is like $100 by itself, just for the, not the plate, but the pots and the wiring and the 5-way switch. So all you got to do is just, solder your pickups and do something with the ground on the neck pickup. I don't know what it is exactly, but it seems like a pretty good mod. And I'm toying with that idea because sometimes I have a problem, being a Strat guy, I have a problem like going, when you go to hit the switch, sometimes you screw with the volume. And I use the volume, I only turn it up full blast when I'm going to play a solo or something, or the intro or an ending of a song. Then I roll it off, so you get some cleaner tones, So when you're switching between, sometimes you run and bump in, adjusting the volume knob inadvertently, and it kind of screws things up. But since I've changed to these top hat switches, these top hat black switches, they're a little taller, so it's a little easier to flip between. What comes stock on the newer Tellys is these little black barrel switches, caps, and I took those off, and all my Tellys now have this top hat style. See that? It's tall. It's like more of a vintage style. Excuse me. Reason I didn't post any videos for the last few days. I've been sicker than a dog, man. I had like this I still do, massive head cold, where I'm stuffed up, can't breathe, I'm coughing, I haven't been able to drink beer, but I'm getting back into it, as you can see. Got my lime in there. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, so I thought I'd post a video. Anyway, that little song I was playing in the beginning, that was an original tune written by my friend Steve Noble's song called Bark at the Moon that we used to play all the time. And yeah, he wrote that song. It's got really good lyrics too. If I could learn how to sing it and play it at the same time, I might end up doing that. But I don't know yet. It's going to be a trial and error. We'll see. I just remembered how the tune went. And, I don't know what I played for a guitar solo. I'd have to probably write a new one. I could probably write something better than I did, 15 years ago or 20 years ago when I started playing that song. But it's a catchy tune. People used to always, ask for it. And somebody made a comment about that song a couple weeks back, and it just made me think about that song. And like I said, I haven't played it in so long. It's nice to revisit it, and I'll have to talk to my buddy Steve and see how he'd feel about me doing that. I'm sure he'd dig it. Maybe I'll record it. Yeah. That's a thought, as I'm planning to go into the studio soon. I just booked some time. Well, I didn't book the time, but I bought a slot. I bought a slot of hours. How's that? Yeah, that's the proper terminology. I have some hours slotted for me at Tone Freak Studios in San Jose. And when we start playing January 14th at Callahan's every Tuesday night from 8 to 10. And then we're going to be rehearsing on Mondays prior to that night with the trio. I think I'll take that time to work on some new original stuff. And then we could insert that into our Tuesday night things and like try it out on people before we record it, kind of fine tune it. And yeah, so I can get ready to record it, It's better to spend time playing it in the rehearsal studio and playing it live before going into the studio and trying to arrange it and figure parts out while the meter's ticking, you know what I mean? I'd rather do all the homework prior and then go into the studio and, lay it down. Yeah, like they say. So I like working with Steve Glaze Steve Glaze at Tone Freak. He's very fluent with the software. He knows that studio like the back of both his hands and some. It's his studio, of course. Him and his partner. So, yeah, there's that. There is that. That's going to be things happening in 2025. So as we're getting ready, looks like as we are getting ready for the New Year's Eve, which is Tuesday. Things are looking up for 2025. They're looking up much better for me than they are the 49ers, that's for sure, man. What a heartbreak season. I gave away my tickets for Monday night's game against the Lions to my buddy Brad, who I work with, who's a huge Lions fan. And so I gave him the tickets. He could probably, he's probably going to take his wife or his son, and I hope they have a good time. He and I were going to go, but I bowed out. I just say, hey, man, I'm not going to go, but I'll give you the tickets. You can take your wife or your boy, They'd appreciate it more than I will. I just can't sit there and watch the Lions kick the shit out of my 49ers, It's going to be a payback game for the NFC Championship last year. It's their turn, right? The Lions, I mean, they're pretty fucking good, right? I can see them going all the way. I can see them beating the Eagles in Minnesota. I think those are the only two real NFC teams in their way. Yeah, so I'm going to be pulling for them. For one, because the 49ers won their first Super Bowl in Pontiac, Michigan, where the Lions played football at the Silverdome, 1982, January 1982. I think it was January 10th. But yeah, so, even though the Lions weren't even in the playoffs or even in the hunt at that time, but I remember they had that Lions logo in the stadium. I remember seeing that when the Niners were beating the shit out. Well, they didn't beat the shit out of them, but when they beat the Bengals, for the first Super Bowl win. Man, I'll never forget that. I will never, ever forget that. That was like one of the greatest memories of my life, was watching my lowly 49ers at the time. Just, they beat the shit out. They didn't beat the shit out of the Cowboys. They beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game for the first time. I think that was their fourth attempt in the NFC Championship against the Cowboys, third or fourth, to finally beat them and go all the way, and then beat the Bengals to win the first Super Bowl, Super Bowl 16. Beautiful thing. Beautiful. And then to win 5 more after that. And then, to lose 3 after that. I mean, it's definitely been a roller coaster ride, But I'm a 49er fan, if you can't tell. As my dad was. My mom. My sister. My kids. This guitar's got a baseball bat for a neck. I mean, it's a big baseball. It's a big neck, big. It's called a vintage U C shape. I love big necks, big fat necks. I don't know. My hands they're kind of large, but they're not super big, you know. But I just the thin necks. I just there's something about them. When they're too thin, I don't I don't like them. I feel like I'm not grabbing enough guitar. Um, One of my other tellies has like this cool rosewood neck. You know, it's thinner. It's a C profile, but I think it's called a medium C or a thin C. I don't know. It's not too bad. It's not too thin. I've played, you know, like those Ibanez necks on those RG guitars or whatever those are. Those necks are just too thin, you know. Um, I like a radius. I like a flat neck too, but I kind of prefer like a 9.5 inch radius. You know, I got one telly with a 7.5 inch radius, vintage radius, and yeah, you know, I can get used to that too. It don't really matter, you know. You just got to play it a little differently. You got to you know you once you get the guitar in your hand, you know what you need to do. You know, dig into it a little bit. I'm still getting used to this neck because it's real bright sounding. You know, it's like rosewood necks just kind of absorb a lot of the vibrate. They vibrate differently. This is more of a clank, kind of a twanky twank sound. It's not bad. It's just different. It's brighter, right? So I bought a new speaker for my forthcoming 67 Blackface Pro Reverb. Somebody put those Repop Jensens in it, um, made in Italy, you know, and I know I'm not going to like it. I think I had one of those in an amp I bought once upon, I don't know what, I think it came in my 65 Deluxe reissue. And I immediately pulled that piece of shit thing out of there. I didn't like the way it sounded. And of course, I put a Celestion in there, and then I had the amp modded, so it's closer. I'm not saying it's like an original 60s Blackface, but it's a whole hell of a lot closer than the reissue sounded. A lot smoother. They had to modify the circuit a little bit to give it some of that soul that it lacked. But yeah, I love it. I have a 60, what do they call it? A 68 custom Repop. It's a reissue 68 Deluxe Reverb, which is a silver face one. And I put a creamback Celestion in that. And the regular channel, you know, isn't too impressive. But the custom channel, which is more of a brown circuit, a brown amp circuit, that circuit sounds great, and you get the reverb and the tremolo with that circuit now on this new custom 68 customs. It's pretty good. It doesn't quite sound as good as my Blackface one now that it's modded, but it's pretty damn close. I mean, I get a lot of compliments out of that. People ask about that amp, you know, but I dime the thing, and I'm using the brown channel with the reverb and vibrola tremolo channel. So yeah, of course it's going to bark. It's pretty warm sounding. It's pretty fat, and with that creamback heavy magnet Celestion speaker, creamback, I think it's called the H magnet. Sounds great. So I ordered a Scumback. I don't know if you're familiar with that Scumback speaker, and this is a guy making these speakers. He used to recone these pre-roll Celestions, and he'd only recone the real ones. And he's got like, I don't know, he's studied all the Celestion speakers and the best ones and came up with his own cones and his own designs and voice coils, paper voice coils and all that stuff. This is a 35 ounce, 55 hertz, 65 watt, 12 inch Celestion copy. And it's supposed to sound like a, you know, mid to late 60s Celestion, and these are broken in already. And, you know, for $200, it better be, right? So, you know, that's going to be one of the speakers. And the other speaker, I don't know if I'm going to put a ruby red Alnico Celestion in there or a gold Alnico Celestion, but one of them is going to be gold. I was going to do the blue, but the blue only handles like 15 watts. I think I'll smoke that thing with the Pro, 40 watts. Even though I'm putting a 65 watt speaker paired next to it, you know, that would probably absorb most of the brunt of the wattage. But I want there to be a little bit of a balance there, just in case. You know, I don't want to. I mean, I probably got half a dozen to a dozen smoked Celestion speakers and boxes in my garage that I got to get reconed. Last thing I need is another fucking speaker to fix. So I even have an old Holy Grail Celestion. I forget which model. It's an H magnet, 30 watt, old one, made in the 60s. The cone is torn, but it's been repaired. The thing sounds great, but I think I might have Scumbag. Once I get the Scumbag speaker that I ordered for the Pro, I'll probably message him and say, hey, let's redo this original. Anyway, I'm going to go. I've been blabbing too long. I just thought I'd post a video real quick. It's been a while. I've been sick. So there's that. Anyway, have a good, you know, a good evening. It's Sunday. No, it's Saturday. Yeah, it's Saturday. A couple days before New Year's Eve. I hope to talk to you before then. Till then, keep playing your guitar. Play it loud and piss off your neighbors. I suggest doing that. All right. Goodbye.